The TrekWorks YouTube channel is sponsored by Tenna Controls, makers of lighting kits, soundboards, and more. Tenna Controls brings your models to life. And by XD Model Works, suppliers of scale model lighting products, detail parts, and complete model kits. Visit xdamodelworks.com today. Hello to all you scale modelers out there in YouTube land. Boyd here with you again, and welcome back to the TrekWorks channel. Well, I'm really excited to announce a brand new video build series we're going to share with you guys over the next several weeks. We just got this cool package from our friend Jerry at XD Model Works that came into the shop. And here it is, guys, just hot off the presses from Moebius Models. We have the 1/144 scale Discovery XD-1. Finally, after all these years, a styrene kit of this wonderful ship from the iconic film 2001: A Space Odyssey. Many of us in the modeling community who are into sci-fi have been waiting for years for a kit like this to come out, and it's absolutely gorgeous. We can't wait to get started on it. Here you can see on the box art we have some photos of the actual model, and they did a wonderful job capturing all the details directly off the original filming miniature. They put a lot of research into this thing. And this is a huge model when you finish with it, guys. It's 41 inches long, so you're going to have to clear off some space on the old shelf for this one. I hope you'll grab one of these kits and follow along with us. We're going to do a very in-depth video build series like we usually do here on the channel, take you through the build step by step. And I hope you guys will stop by over at XD Model Works and pick up one of these kits. Jerry's got a really good price on it over there, so grab one of these and build along with us. Jerry was also really kind to send along these wonderful photo etch detail sets for this kit. We have the space pod cargo area, which we kind of, all kind of familiar with from the film, open the pod bay doors, Hal. And we also have the cockpit detail area, which unfortunately neither one of these things actually comes with this kit. So with these parts here, we can add that detail on and really make the model pop. I can't wait to work with this stuff. If you haven't worked with photo etch before, don't worry. We're going to show you some tips and tricks on this as we go through our build. We're going to start off on the bench tonight. With the rear part of the model first, we're going to work on the engines and then work our way forward. So tonight we're going to open up the box, have a look at the parts, and start getting into some details and talking about what our build plan is. And then we'll do a little bit of work on the engines. We're going to start with the lighting of those first and adding some of the photo etch detail parts on there. So I'm really, really excited to get started on this one, guys. I hope you'll enjoy this one. It's something I've been waiting a long time to work on. So let's get things going, guys. I can't wait. See you over at the bench in just a couple seconds. Be right back. All right, everybody. We made it over the bench, and it's time to get started on this awesome model. Really excited to get going here. We'll take the lid off the box and show you a basic overview of the kit. I'm not going to do a full in-depth review in this because it's already been done several times on YouTube that you can check out. But here we have the instructions right on the top. And then we have several sprues worth of detail parts here. This whole area here on the left-hand side mainly consists of the cargo modules, all those little modules you see on the spine area of this ship. And that's what most of the parts are in this kit as far as the high parts count. We have to do a kind of a repetitive build process, building those little cargo modules over and over. There are slight differences to some of the parts, so we have to make sure we don't get any of those mixed up. And we follow along really carefully with the instructions. But not to worry, right now we're not going to be dealing with those. We're starting off, as I said, at the rear of the model, working on the engines first, and I'm going to be working my way forward. So here we have this little group of parts in this bag here, which mainly consists of the rear engine area. We have the kind of main engine bulkhead, and then we have the exhaust nozzles and everything that come out of that. So let's go ahead and open this particular bag up and see what we've got to work with. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to be doing lighting on this kit, so I want to actually do a self-powered setup on this model so that I can either hang it up or I can have it on its display stand and I can pick it up and show it off or whatever I want to do. So I'm going to make the power supply on this model self-contained. I believe I'm going to use a regular 9-volt battery and mount that inside the model. So I think we've got enough room inside this little area back here. We'll take a look at this. This area right here, that's the the kind of the upper and lower area. I think I can get my 9-volt battery inside here, and also I'm going to be using a small little control board from Tenna Controls for our engine lighting effects. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But I think I can get the board and the 9-volt battery in there, and then we can run our lighting out from that back to our engines. And then there's a hollow metal tube that comes with this kit, and we can run our wires from that all the way up to the front to light up the the garage area and the cockpit area of this model. So we'll kind of cross that bridge when we get to it. But right now, I just wanted to give you an idea of what my thinking is and my planning. So this piece obviously comes in 2 halves. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and take my sprue cutter, and I'm going to remove these parts from the sprue, just these 2 main parts to start with. And I'm going to take a look and just kind of see how well they fit together, because I have an idea that what we might do here is we want to have this so it's has the ability to be opened so that we can change our battery later on when we power this model up. So I'm thinking that I might use a couple of magnets to hold these 2 pieces together, and then we have these other parts that kind of go over the top for the detail. So we can probably get away with doing that. Now there's no actual lighting in this actual area right here. It's at the very rear where we have the engine exhaust nozzle. So if we have a little bit of a tiny seam here, we don't have to worry about it too much. We won't have light leaking out of there, but I mainly want to check right now and see if these 2 parts fit together fairly tightly here. And I think they do. Once we get, we got to remove a little bit of this burr material here off of the sprue, get that sanded down smooth and everything, and then that's going to work out pretty good. Now what this does is we have these side panels here. We'll get these and show them to you. We have these side panels that kind of go on kind of like this. So I'm thinking that what we can do here is the one that we have on the side, we'll just glue the lower half of it. In other words, this little area right in here, depending on which is the top and the bottom, I'll have to figure that out. But we'll set this up where we glue this only on the side here, and then leave the upper part free, and we have this little kind of slot that's been put in there. We'll probably have to remove that on the back side of that part. That way we'll have the ability to basically lift this right up off like that, and our battery and our our control board and everything will be right in here, and we'll be able to change out the battery or recharge the battery whenever we our power eventually runs low. So I think that's going to be the plan going forward. We have to kind of see how this whole thing lines up. The option might be here, if this doesn't work out, we can actually cut this little, be really careful with a styrene hobby knife here, and we can probably cut this little panel off on the top and have access that way. But we've got this little kind of cone shape that goes on the back here, and like I said, I think if I am really careful, I can just glue 1/2 of this, and then have the ability to lift this right up off of there. So that's going to be our plan going forward. Okay, moving on now, we're going to show you some of the other parts in the kit here. This is probably one of the most important parts of the entire model right here. This is the forward sphere area, which has the we have the cockpit area up here on the top, and then we also have the 3 cargo or pod bay doors here. We're going to probably build this with the center one open and our space pod platform extended out. Now this kit doesn't come with an in-scale space pod. There are actually 3 of those on board the Discovery during the movie, but there is a company out there called Skyhook Models, which is going to be very shortly releasing a 1/144 scale space pod with some paragraphics photo etch details that go along with it. So we'll probably pick up a couple of those. I'm just going to have to make up my mind like which scene from the movie I want to depict. We had the first scene where the character first left the ship and went out to do the repair on the main antenna array, and then of course he Hal had his little issue there, and gave that poor guy some problems. And then the second officer had to go out there and try to retrieve him, and so you had only two space pods left inside at the point when the second one was launched. So we may just wind up picking up two of those and just having one off to the side here and the other one extending out on the launch ramp. So that's probably what we're going to wind up doing. Just kind of thinking ahead a little bit, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But the fit of this is really good. We've got to build up all of the photo etch stuff and put this all on the inside before we start assembling this. We'll have to light block it. We'll paint some black on the inside and then some white so our light bounces around and they're really good. Not a whole lot of intense lighting is going to have to go into this, just a little bit up in the top here to light the cockpit area. We're going to probably wind up using some of our small SMDs for that, and maybe the same thing down here in the cargo or space pod area. So we'll come to that a little bit later again. But here are some more of the detail parts. Just kind of looking at them. I don't want to bust these out of the bag just yet because we don't want to lose anything. But this is the rear area of the sphere, the rear engine bulkhead detail, some more of the rear engine stuff. And this is the main things that we're going to be working with here very shortly to start working on our engine assembly. And then we have some more of that spine detail here. We have the base. There are three individual stands that go for this, one on each end and one supports the model in the center. I don't know whether I'm going to be working with these at all or not. They're really narrow. I would never want to leave the model sitting on this alone. It could tip over really easy. As you can see, that's a pretty small footprint. So we're probably going to work with something a little bit different than that as far as when we actually mount the model. But they do give you that in case you want to use it. But there are various other little detail parts in here for the antenna array and some other things. So just kind of a general glance. Now here you get some actual metal rod that supports the entire spine of the model. Now we're going to have to pay attention when we assemble this on which of these areas goes where, because they're different lengths and they are meant to overlap each other in some spots. The great thing they did here is that this tubing is hollow, so that we can pass our wiring through it. We'll be using some really small gauge, 30 gauge wrapping wire for that. We're only have to run 2 wires through there, so that'll extend power from the rear all the way up to the front for our front lighting, and that should be pretty easy to do. So I think that's already worked out for us. And then we've got to make sure that we get all those little spine details on there exactly right. That's the most tedious part about building this model. Here we have the rear engine detail. Now I want to get these parts off of the sprue because we're going to be working with this right away. I'm going to go ahead and open this bag and we'll get those parts out and start cleaning them up. Now we've got some photo etch detail for the grills on the engine that is going to allow us to light these. So we want to take these parts out and start modifying them. Let me get my sprue cutter out here again, and we're going to remove these little parts off of the sprue here and then see what it's going to take to open these up. And what type of lighting we're going to wind up using. Most likely some SMDs. Those are kind of my lighting components of choice here because they're really easy to work with. They're pre-wired. They have a resistor already built in, and I've got those in all different colors and sizes and everything. So we're going to do some white lighting back here on these engines. Nice and bright. But if I can get this up to the camera here for you, you can see that we have some small little grill detail in there, and the photo etch part, as I'll show you here, replaces that, as you can see right here, and it allows us to get light through there. So I have to look and see here on the back side what we've got, and it's just some flat plastic. So I'm just going to take and start drilling these out. I'm going to drill this out and just get it opened up basically. Not opening it up all the way just yet because I want to see. We'll remove one of these little grills off of the photo etch sheet here, and we'll lay it in there to see how much overlap we've got. We don't want it to fall all the way through. We want to leave a little bit of a ledge around that original grill detail so that when our photo etch part drops in there, we can glue it in place and it's not going to fall all the way through. Just kind of thinking ahead there a little bit too. So let me get to work drilling these out, and we'll come right back and show you what we're working towards here. Be right back, everybody. Alright, so here we are after just a few minutes of work, and I've actually opened up these little grills here on our bulkhead piece for our engine nozzles. Now I just did a really simple technique here. I took my Dremel tool, I've got it spinning at around number 5 on the speed, not too fast, and I just drilled a little hole in the center here to start with, and then I just kind of started working the Dremel around, working my way out wider and wider and wider until I got this hole basically all the way opened up. And then I just came back with my hobby knife here and just kind of got in there and just kind of cleaned up the edges a little bit, and left just a little bit of meat in there of the old plastic that's you know, sticking out just a little bit, so hopefully our photo etch will have something to rest on. Now what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and remove, I want to bring in our photo etch parts here, and I want to remove one of these little grills off of the sheet here, and I want to test fit that inside there to see how it's going to look. Now one thing I want to mention about photo etch, for those of you who haven't worked with it before, it's very important that when you want to cut this stuff that you use a really sharp blade, a brand new number 11 blade, so it'll cut through it really fast and easy, and you won't have to, you know, struggle while you're doing it, and you won't bend anything or, you know, have any problems like that. So I've got a brand new blade here ready to go. I'm just going to get down here right on the edge on these little extra pieces that are, you know, made onto these parts, so we can get them off there without actually damaging the part. And I've got 4 little tabs here that are holding it in place. I'm just pushing straight down with a nice firm pressure, and you can see that that part just popped right off of there. Let's go ahead and get it off of that sheet. Now I'm going to take my Dremel tool, and I'm going to use this little sanding drum, which is a standard accessory that comes with your Dremel, and I'm going to use that to remove the burrs off of this, you know, the extra material that's still there on that little grill. I'm going to turn this down pretty slow, about 3 or so, and just take my time and just get that off of there. Just going right parallel with the edge here. Just a quick touch. Just go around and get all 4 of these cleared off of here. A little bit left showing on this one here, and just like that, we got that all cleaned up. You can see that looks real nice. Okay, so now I'm going to lay it in here and just get an idea of what kind of fit we're going to be dealing with. It looks like that drops in there really good, just like the way it is. Now the one thing that we want to pay attention to is these lines that are running up and down here. You want to make sure that you line this up so these are nice and straight and the way that they're supposed to be. You've got these kind of little round detail areas right here that gives you an indicator, so we can just match that up to this one over here, kind of like so. And we want to make sure that when we lay that in there that we have it, you know, facing straight up and down, and just kind of test fit it there and get it worked in there. That looks like it's going to fit really good. I'm going to have to, you know, straighten it up a little bit. We'll use a couple of little drops of CA glue to hold that in place. So I'm going to go ahead from this point, now that I know everything's going to fit pretty good, and get the rest of these plastic parts opened up. Now what we're going to do here is get this back out of there. It's actually fitting too good, so we'll just kind of put that off to the side. As I said, I'm going to get these parts cleaned up and get them all drilled out, and then we're going to do our painting on these. We're going to paint these on the back black, and then that will light block it so we won't have any light leaks coming out around this. And then we're going to go ahead and paint our little grills separately. Now the grill detail that I've seen when I used my I've made some reference. What I always do when I build these models is I'll go and actually watch the movie itself, and I'll use a little program I have here called VLC Media Player, and I can, you know, I basically have the movie on my hard drive, so I can stop the movie at any point and pause it, and then take a snapshot and then blow that up on my big 36-inch monitor here, so I can get a really good idea of what the detail should look like. Having done that, and I'll put up a picture just a second of the rear engine detail, I noticed that these grills are painted black. They're black with a little bit of weathering on them, like, you know, kind of white soot. So we'll add that little detail on there. So these grills will actually get painted black. The rest of this plastic material here for the rest of the engine nozzles is going to get painted the same color as the hull. So I'm going to have to start thinking about my hull color, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But let me get these parts cleaned up, and we'll come back and show you where we are after we get that done. Be right back, everyone. Here we are back again, and I've completed the work on our engine output exhausts here at the rear of our model. I've used the small photo etch detail parts for the grills here, and I've got them all installed. I've got everything painted. This worked out really good. I'll explain what I've come up with here. What I wound up doing is we wanted to have a lens mounted behind our grills here so that we could create a little bit of diffusion when we light it. We're going to probably, what I'm thinking right now is I'm going to probably light this with some standard 0805 white SMDs, one located behind each port right in the center. So we'll have a total of 6. And so I created these little lenses that I glued in behind our grills here on the back side of the part with this clear sheet styrene here, which I have a bunch of this. I think it's 040 thickness, pretty thin stuff, and just cut it out and shaped it. You can see I glued it onto the back here. Get this a little bit closer here for you. But you can see we're all set up here now. Now I left the part completely clear because I don't know for sure how close I'm going to get my LE or my SMD light to this, whether I'm going to have to do a lot of diffusion. The grills being in place here are going to kind of break that up a little bit anyway. So, but I want the lights to look really, really sharp and bright in here. So we may wind up mounting them pretty close, and if we do, I'm probably going to have to get back on the back side of these and either sand this and scuff it up a little bit, or maybe put a little piece of you know, really thin sheet styrene or something, you know, something to diffuse this a little bit. But we're going to show you what we wind up doing for that. But anyway, this is the basic concept. So I've got these grills installed, I've got everything painted. Now we've got our lenses glued on in place back here, so we're all set. Now, so we're going to cut the video off here for this first part of the build series. When we come back with part 2, I'm going to be continuing on with assembling the rest of the rear section of the engines, you know, the cones, and then the main rear bulkhead there. And then we're going to be able to start figuring out how to lay in our lighting and connect this and get these all installed and everything. And then we can go through and figure out exactly how close the lights are going to need to be and all that. And we're going to cover all that with you in part 2 of the video build series. So anyways, we hope you'll tune in and check back with us for the next part on that, probably about a week or so, and I'll have another update on this. And we'll keep going from there. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Happy modeling, everyone.